Good day, ladies and gentlemen, as well as fellow learners. Welcome back to our series of videos on number patterns, determining arithmetic means and geometric means. Just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Mohammed Ramasobana, as you can all see on the slide, and I will be your instructor in today's video. And to give you a little bit of background about myself, here at the center, I am responsible for the design, development, as well as the implementation of the learning material and program, amongst other things. And in today's video, we will be looking, as mentioned, at arithmetic patterns or patterns in general, including their means. I also have to indicate that this tutorial lesson is intended primarily for learners who are in grade 11 and 12, and my objective is to instill confidence through first explaining the most fundamental ideas or other concepts and going through tutorial problems with you. Lastly, please just tell us which syllabus, if any, you are taking at school, and if any of the topics that are being covered on this presentation slides are relevant to it. We'll kindly appreciate your feedback. So I'm quickly going to go through the disclaimer list, what you should know, and these are the disclaimers. This presentation slide is a property of the center and it cannot be reproduced or shared by anyone. Anyone who seeks to obtain a copy, be it an electronic or hard copy, must send a request and be granted permission. This document is for educational purposes only, and it is intended mainly to assist you in planning and as a guide for your cycle tests and examination. The development, implementation, and timing of any topic or feature in this document remains a sole discretion of Digital X, simply meaning that we can make any changes on the document. And lastly, the center or instructor will not be held responsible for any learner failures. Learners are expected to take their schoolwork very seriously. So those are the disclaimers. So just to give you an overview of today's lesson, here are the learning/specific outcomes. And they are as follows. Upon completion, learners should be able to differentiate between arithmetic, quadratic, and geometric sequences, to calculate the value, and on this video we'll be looking at arithmetic sequence. So you should be able to calculate the value of any time in an arithmetic sequence, to determine the number of patterns in a finite arithmetic sequence, and fourthly, determine the required number of arithmetic mean, and lastly, to analyze a problem and identify a suitable strategy to solve it. Include using a combination of process where appropriate. And lastly, this is also a prerequisite, and the prerequisite is prior knowledge from previous grades or classes will be advantageous. It is also important to know that to reinforce the concept and knowledge, as a learner, you're expected to work on assigned tutorial problems, and only registered learners will have access to these tutorial problems. Now, every sequence conforms to this basic or this general definition, which states that a sequence can be thought of as a list of numbers written in a different order, and this is the order in which we write our sequence. Now, A1, or rather A subscript 1, refers to the first term of our sequence, or rather the sequence and a2 being the second term, a3 being the third term, and an subscript n being the nth term of the sequence. Now we have different also. I also have to indicate this you did in previous grades. Just to recap on things that you covered on previous grades. Now the sequence a subscript 1 or a term 1, term 2, term 3 up until the nth term can be denoted in one of the two ways. But in this video, including the upcoming ones, we will be using the simple way of denoting our sequence. Now we'll see as we'll be doing more examples, it will be much easier to understand. Now let's look at the definition of an arithmetic sequence. So remember that it's just a general definition. This one is specific to an arithmetic sequence. So an arithmetic sequence is a sequence in which the first difference between any two successive terms is some constant d. Okay, it is some constant t. So for an arithmetic sequence, we know that every successive term is determined by this particular formula here, which states that t subscript n plus 1, which is the successive term, is determined by the predecessor being added to the difference. Or for you to find out, or for you to determine the value of the difference, you simply use this particular formula over here. So the constant d, as we all know, it is called the common difference of the arithmetic sequence. This is things that you are familiar with from previous grades. Now, just to summarize on arithmetic sequence, a summary on arithmetic sequence. For the arithmetic sequence with the first term a and a common difference d, okay, the common difference is given by this particular formula over here, and the general term or the nth term is given by this formula over here, which says that t subscript n is equals to a, and a being the first term of our sequence or the sequence, plus into n. This is the position. This is the position. So n, it is the position. It is the position of the term. It is the position of the term. And we close the brackets and we simply multiply by the difference. So again, we know that the general term of a sequence or the nth term is given by this particular formula over here. Now we will see, as we'll be doing more examples, this will be much simpler and clearer to understand when we do examples. Now let's look at this example, which I consider it to be the most simple and straightforward example on arithmetic sequence. Now in this example, we are requested to determine the general term, or rather the kth term of the following sequence. And the sequence is 7, 2, -3, -8, and -13. And as mentioned from our definition, that the first difference is given by, you just substitute by subtracting 7 from 2, which gives us minus, or rather -5. So each successive term is subtracted from its predecessor, so we get a constant difference. But from subtracting each successive term from its predecessor, we get a common difference, or the first difference, of -5. And to determine the general rule, we simply substitute into this formula the given values. And the value here for a the value for a will be 7. So this will be the value for a. We're just going to substitute everything into our equation or into our formula, and what we end up with is this particular general rule over here. Now let's quickly look at the last section of our presentation slides, which is on an arithmetic means. So what we know is that the arithmetic mean of any two real numbers a and c, it is basically the average of the two numbers. So the arithmetic mean of any two real numbers a and c, it is the average of those two numbers. So let's look at this example. Let's look at example 1 here, which requests us to calculate the arithmetic mean of 10 and 20. So like I said, the arithmetic mean of any two real numbers a and c is the average. So we have the two numbers here being 10 and 20. So the number that lies between 10 and 20, the number in the middle here, will be called the arithmetic mean. And the arithmetic mean in this case, it is 15. So the 10, 15, 20, they now form three terms of an arithmetic sequence. So given any two numbers, or given two numbers, any terms inserted between them to form an arithmetic sequence, that those terms will be considered what? They will be considered arithmetic means. Let's look at this example. This example will help us understand that more. Now here we are required to form an arithmetic sequence of 5 terms with T1. So this one here, it is T1, and then this, obviously, it is T5. It is the 5th term of the sequence. Now in order for us to do so, we're going to construct our list of sequence of numbers. So remember, we have T1, which is equals to 10, and now we have to look for the second term and also to look for the third term. So because we are being asked to insert 3 arithmetic terms or arithmetic means to form an arithmetic sequence. So we have the third term, so this is what we'll be looking for: term 2, term 3, and term 4. And lastly, we are given the 5th term of the sequence, which is equals to what? It is equals to 30. Now what we are going to do to find our solution, we're just going to say we know already that the first term here, it is a. So after doing basic substitution into our arithmetic formula, we know that the first term, it is a. Okay, so we're simply going to find, just to determine the general rule, which obviously we have to follow necessary steps. So we're going to subtract the 5th term, or rather we're going to subtract the second equation, the first equation, sorry, from the second equation. All right, and this will help us to determine the difference, and the difference in this case will be what? The difference will be 5. And what we have as the general term in this case will be 5. The general term will be 10 plus 5 into n minus 1, close bracket. So we're requested to find what? We're requested to find the second term of our sequence. And the second term of our sequence will be, so when you substitute it back into your equation, so we know that the first term is that, and then this will be the difference, so we get 15. And then the same applies to that, it should give you 20. So ultimately, our arithmetic means it is 15, 20, and 25. And the sequence is given by 10, 15, 20, and 30 being the last term of the sequence. And please, I'll be more than happy to help you if you need any help on. I know I said at the beginning of the video that registered members will have access to tutorial problems, and just a token of appreciation for staying with us till this far, we felt the need to share with you problems to work on. So we truly appreciate you for soldiering on, for sticking with us till this far. So feel free to go through these tutorial problems to check your understanding. Most importantly, we will request you not to or to refrain from using third-party softwares such as ChatGPT or any other large language models to solve these tutorial problems. These models, and I have to mention, these models are not designed to reinforce learning, and they must be avoided at all costs. You will not learn anything from using large language models to solve these tutorial problems, because I can tell you can solve these problems using those large language models, but they will not be to your benefit. So we're given two tutorial problems. Well, yeah. So first they say you must, given this arithmetic sequence, determine the following. You must determine the value of x, the seventh term of the sequence, and you are being asked which term will have the value of minus 33. So go ahead and work on these tutorial problems. And the second one, they say you must calculate 2.1 for arithmetic means between 2 and 32. 2.2, it says 3 arithmetic means between m and m plus n8. Okay, so you're given the two terms m and m, the second term being m plus n8, and lastly, which is a bit difficult. Okay, it's a bit difficult, but it's something you can attempt. They say you must calculate the 3 arithmetic means between log a squared and log a14. So go ahead and work on these tutorial problems, but most importantly, do not forget to have fun. So we have finally made it to the end of our presentation slide, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it to the end of our presentation slide. Just to quickly do a recap. Here's what we covered in today's presentation. We looked at the definition of an arithmetic sequence. We determined the value of the k or the nth term of the sequence, the number of terms of the sequence, and lastly, we determined the required number of arithmetic mean. Lastly, please don't forget to provide us with feedback by filling in the form and your suggestion on what can be improved. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy.